Okay, so we just finished the IEP and we all agree that this placement isn't really working and we need to go to a more restrictive environment. So let's start going through and getting the packet together to send it to the central IEP office. Oh, wait a minute. The last evaluation was 2.5 years ago. We're going to have to do evaluations before we can send it to CIEP because they're just not going to accept it. So let's go through what evaluations need to be done and get your consent. You don't want this to happen to you. I'm Frances Schefter with Schefter Law PA, where we help families have a stress-free IEP experience. If you saw my video last week, I talked about why it's so important to make sure your child is evaluated at least once or every year or every 2 years. They're only required, the federal law only requires a review every 3 years. But a lot of times schools will say, oh, your child's, still eligible, you agree, right? And not even do an evaluation. Or they might do the evaluation, but then not do it again for another 3 years. The problem is if you ever feel like you need a different placement for your child, whether through the county or to a private school, you're going to need evaluations that are less than 2 years old. And so you don't want that to happen to you, that you're now delaying the process because once they get consent, it's another 90 days till they have to come to the table with the report. So you've just lost 3 months of time while waiting for these evaluations that could be critical time in finding another placement, whether it be private school or a non-public placement through the school system. So it's so important when discussing evaluations that you at least have the academic evaluations done every 2 years. I personally suggest every year because how can you appropriately plan for a child if you don't have present levels? So law allows parents to request evaluations as long as they haven't been done in the last 12 months. So I suggest all of you out there listening to double check your child's IEP and see when the last evaluations are done. And if it's been more than a year, go ahead and ask the school to do another evaluation that you want academic assessments done so that you at least have that information in the case you need it in the future. Because as you all know, I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. I'm Frances Schefter with Schefter Law PA, where we help families have a stress-free IEP experience.